Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Hacking Classroom Management. 10 Ideas to Help You Become the Type of Teacher They Make Movies About. By Mike Roberts. Narrated by Stephen R. Thorne. Introduction. This teaching thing is kind of hard. We've all seen the movies. You know, the ones with that teacher, the mentor who inspires students to reach new heights, the guru who somehow manages to create a classroom environment where students want to learn not for the sake of the grade, but rather for the respect of the teacher, the educational sage who instills in students not only a mastery of the subject, but also a clear understanding of life. Yeah, those movies. Whether it was decades of students coming back to pay homage to Mr. Holland, students standing on their desks to let Mr. Keating know that they finally understood his message, or students exceeding expectations on their AP exams as a result of Mr. Escalante's dedication, those movie teachers always seemed to get their students to perform at their highest potential. Now, if we are being honest, we all originally set out to be one of those teachers. We were excited as we sat through our methods courses. We loved telling our friends stories from student teaching. And there was a sense of pride in telling people, when asked what we do for a living, that I am a teacher. But then, usually within the first few months of having our own classrooms, reality kicked in. Overcrowded classrooms, grade-obsessed parents, and overbearing administrators all started to cloud our dreams. Add to this a lack of funding, constant grading, and unmotivated students, among numerous other things, and, well, you get the idea. But what if I were to tell you that there is a way, even with those obstacles staring you down, that you could still become one of those movie-type teachers? And what if I said that all this could be accomplished courtesy of a few easy-to-implement classroom management hacks? Even better, what if these concepts were modeled for you through both real-world scenarios and via some of the best teachers from the past 30 years of cinema? Would you be interested? But I've already taken a classroom management class. Now, before I go on, let's clarify exactly what this book is and isn't about. First, while this is a classroom management book, it's not going to be very useful if you are looking for reactive strategies to help solve your behavioral problems after they have already happened. If that fire is already ablaze within your class, you're probably not going to find your extinguisher within this book. Instead, the hacks presented here tend to be more proactive. In my experience, the best way to manage the classroom environment is to create a learning atmosphere where students know that they are appreciated, where they are actively engaged in the learning, and where they can have, prepare to gasp, fun in the process. Simply put, my goal is to provide you with 10 quick and easy management hacks that will make your classroom the place to be for all your students. Will I have to change my curriculum for this? Have you ever been to a conference session or a professional development day and walked out with absolutely nothing that was of use to you or your students? Sure, you might have been given some stats and theory on the topic, and, if you're lucky, maybe even a copy of the PowerPoint. But as far as a takeaway that was actually useful within your classroom, you came away with zilch. Yeah, I've been to those too. After nearly 20 years of attending and presenting at various conferences, a few things have become clear to me. Teachers want resources that can be implemented into their current curriculum. As a majority of teachers will tell you, time is a very valuable commodity. And while there are a bunch of really great teaching resources out there, the problem is that many of them require adjusting or completely overhauling your current curriculum in order to implement the ideas. Now, if you're like me, I really don't want to scrap years of classroom-tested lesson plans just to keep up with the latest educational trend. It is for this very reason that the majority of the hacks presented here can be incorporated within the context of what you already do. And yes, while some will require more time than others, overall, these hacks are simple and straightforward to execute. After all, the purpose of this book is not to add a pile of new responsibilities to your teaching plate, but rather to help you incorporate some simple, effective, and long-lasting classroom management hacks that enhance what you already successfully do. Teachers know that processes proven to work in actual classrooms hold much more merit than research conducted on a select group of students. When I started thinking about writing this book, my goal was to create a resource that would be useful to all teachers. Again, there are plenty of methodology books out there targeted to a particular grade level or subject matter, but to me, great teaching is great teaching. Because of this, I wanted to create something that provided a series of ready-to-go classroom management strategies that teachers could use regardless of grade level, subject taught, or school environment. Even still, these hacks can serve as a starting point, and they may require a little tweaking for these concepts to fit with your particular audience. There is no one-size-fits-all system in education. By putting your own spin on these hacks, you will ultimately determine their success. That said, after having tested each of these classroom management ideas in an actual classroom with real students over multiple school years, I am confident that they will be just as effective for you as they have been for me. Teachers are willing to go above and beyond for the sake of their students, schools, and communities. Obtaining resources is becoming more and more of a challenge with each passing year, and it's not uncommon for teachers to spend their own money in order for their students to have basic classroom supplies. Because of this, I wanted to make sure these hacks could be incorporated with very little, if any, added expense. And again, certain elements discussed within this book naturally come with expenses: standing desks, field trips, guest speakers. But generally speaking, all it takes to implement most of these ideas is a little planning and the willingness to try. To be a great teacher, and I'm talking about the type of teacher they make movies about, requires more than simply showing up and doing your job. I'm sure you can think of plenty of decent teachers at your school who know their content and teach their students day in and day out. But those who take their teaching to the next level flip this approach. Movie-worthy teachers know their students and teach their content. In doing so, they realize the positive impact of making personal connections with their students. And it is this connection, combined with simple management strategies, which leads to an effectively managed classroom. Classroom management isn't about knowing what to do after things fall apart, but rather it is about managing the classroom environment in a way that prevents things from melting down. Simply put, no matter how well you know your content, your class won't reach its full potential until you develop an engaging approach to classroom management, and these hacks will help you do just that. This book offers resources to implement into your current curriculum, processes proven to work in actual classrooms, and simple ideas to help you become even more of a star teacher than you already are, as you go above and beyond for your students. Hack learning loyalists will recognize the structure of the book, including the problem, the hack, what you can do tomorrow, a blueprint for full implementation, overcoming pushback, and the hack in action. As an added bonus, each hack chapter includes a helpful visual called Behind the Scenes. This feature shows you examples, pictures, or prompts to help you fully understand what the hack looks and feels like. I invite you to borrow these ideas outright, or use them as springboards to inspire your own adaptations. Each chapter concludes with a final boost of motivation by describing a movie teacher who exemplifies that particular hack. Hack 1. Remember, it's a classroom, not a boot camp. Think of it as Classroom Management 2.0. Control leads to compliance. Autonomy leads to engagement. Daniel Pink, author. The problem. Teachers start the year with no. Ah, yes, the first day of class. That special time of the year when everything starts fresh. New students, new ideas, new opportunities, and the same old first-day routine. If you are like many teachers, the first day of class, whether it be the beginning of the year, a quarter, or a semester, is often spent going through introductions, expectations, and rules. And while the introductions generally start things off on the right foot, momentum begins to slip a bit once you start talking about expectations. And by the time you hit the rules, well, that's where the no rainstorm really opens up. No chewing gum. No eating or drinking in class. No going to the bathroom without permission. No talking without raising your hand. No cheating. No cell phones. No inappropriate and or disrespectful language. No being out of dress code. Whew! And those are just the basics. Now, I don't know about you, but nothing gets me pumped up like being given a list of what I can't do. While there is an argument for being firm and laying the foundation for the rules right off the bat, there is also something to be said about overdoing it. And from my experience, if you go overboard with the rules early on, there might not be a lifeboat that can save you when you need it. As you begin to redistribute the power of the class in ways that are more student-centered, your students will become much more invested in wanting all aspects of the class to succeed. For far too long now, traditional thoughts about classroom management have stressed the need for teachers to hold complete control over the classroom. The problem with this, however, is that effective classroom management isn't about control. It's about understanding the needs of your students. So, whereas the outdated 1.0 version of classroom management focused on the teacher retaining power over the students, the new 2.0 version provides students with the opportunity to take some ownership in the daily happenings within the classroom. So, rather than starting the year by telling students what isn't allowed, Classroom Management 2.0 provides students with a little more freedom in regard to what is permitted. Essentially, with just a few minor tweaks to what you already do, this hack will transform the basic elements of your classroom management routine into processes that benefit both you and your students. The hack. Remember, it's a classroom, not boot camp. Classroom Management 2.0 is a concept based around the idea that students should be treated a little less like soldiers and a little more like people. As teachers, we ask a great deal of our students each and every day, and as a show of good faith, we should find little ways where we can loosen the chokehold of control and give them an opportunity to have a voice in what their class will look like. By providing them this freedom, you are also giving them the opportunity to take more ownership in the class. This, in turn, will result in a more engaged and attentive class. Now, I am by no means suggesting that you let the inmates run the prison. You are still the one in charge of the room. However, I am recommending that you not only get input from your students regarding the day-to-day rules and procedures, but also alter some of your tried and true classroom management strategies. In fact, I'm going after two of the classics right off the bat. Seating charts. The golden oldie of Classroom Management 1.0. Rather than assigning students seats on the first day, give them the opportunity to sit where they want. Then, as you are discussing other rules and procedures, let them know that they are welcome to sit where they want as long as they are able to responsibly handle the situation. This gives them a sense of ownership about it, and rather than fighting against the seating chart, they will fight for the seating chart. And if certain students are unable to properly cope with this freedom, talk to those students individually and come up with a consequence that they can agree on. But please, never punish the entire class by taking this privilege away based on one or two problematic students. Now, before you get all worried that this will make your class chaotic, rest assured that if your class is like mine, your students will tend to sit in the same general location every day, even without being told to. Students like routine, and they will fall into their own system more easily if you allow them to take a little ownership of the situation. Asking to go to the bathroom. Can we please let this one go? Seriously, when was the last time you had to publicly ask if you could go to the bathroom? I'm guessing it was when you were in school. To put an end to this, as a class, come up with a nonverbal signal that students give you when they need to go to the bathroom. In my class, students simply point to the door when nature calls. I then give a quick nod to let them know that I am aware they are leaving, and off they go. Another simple method is to have a sign-out sheet that students sign whenever they leave. This can be as simple as a pen and paper next to the door. Both methods save the students the embarrassment of making a public announcement, and it allows you as the teacher to keep the momentum of class flowing. And while it might not sound like much, giving your class this type of respect shows that you are willing to look at them as people, and in return, they will reflect that respect through appropriate in-class behavior. While simple in nature, allowing your class more freedom regarding your seating chart and bathroom policy signals a sign of good faith to your students. Ultimately, you are building a foundation of trust and respect, two key elements of an effectively run classroom. What you can do tomorrow. In addition to saying goodbye to the traditional seating chart and bathroom routine, here are a few more simple ideas that will solidify your classroom management by adding clarity and student responsibility to your routines. Review your rules. I often kept certain rules around, not because they were effective and improved my classroom management, but simply because I had always used them. With that in mind, take a few minutes tomorrow and evaluate the effectiveness of each of your rules. I'm guessing that if you really look at them, you will discover that a few of them could be dropped without impacting your effectiveness. Put up the daily schedule. Students like knowing the plan for the day, and putting the class schedule on the board is an easy way to keep them in the loop. And you don't necessarily need to be super specific with this. A general overview is enough. This simple act will help improve classroom management because it allows students to know what is coming up versus leaving them in the dark. Uncertainty often leads to disruptive behavior, and knowing what to expect alleviates this. Plus, as the teacher, this schedule will help you stay on track, eliminating tangents and overdoing a topic, two additional issues that lead to student misbehavior. Eliminate cold calling. Look, I get the logic of this one. You are trying to get everyone involved in the class discussion, and sometimes students need encouragement to participate. But let's be real here. While it's true that cold calling on kids improves the level of student participation, it's crucial to note that it's a forced level of engagement. It would be like saying that the draft improved the number of people in the military. Did it accomplish the goal? Yes. Did it get total buy-in from everyone involved? Probably not. From my experience both as a student and a teacher, this method can backfire if the student that you call on doesn't know the answer to your question. And rather than getting that student engaged in the discussion, you just embarrassed that kid in front of the entire class. The end result is that you negatively impacted your relationship with that student, thus damaging any potential sharing that student might have in the future. The worst part is that while it might work 9 times out of 10, that one wrong answer given by the student can erase all 9 correct responses in one gigantic swoop. From my perspective, it's just not worth the gamble. If you truly want to get some of the less vocal students more involved, front-load the situation by giving them a heads-up after class about what you will be discussing tomorrow, and let them know that you would like to hear their thoughts. Tell them that they can pick their moments, but when their hands go up, you are going to call on them. This not only gets them involved this one time, but it also establishes trust with them, and perhaps a willingness to answer questions in the future that will remain throughout the year. A blueprint for full implementation. Step 1. Commit to letting students be empowered. It's one thing to say you are transferring some of the power of the class to the students, but it's another to actually do it. This is not as easy as it sounds, and you may fall back to your old ways at times. But just remember that the end goal is to empower your students more in the routines of class, and every time you stumble, get back up and keep moving forward. Step 2. Frame expectations in a positive tone. The more rules you have, the more likely students are to break them. So rather than posting a bunch of rules all over your walls, why not establish a few class agreements that encompass the big-ticket behavioral concepts? And instead of posting signs about no swearing, hitting, yelling, or running, why not establish and discuss what appropriate behavior looks like? Putting these ideas into a positive context will let students know what they should be doing, rather than constantly telling them what they shouldn't be doing. It's all in how you say it. Instead of this, you must sit in your assigned seat. Say this: pick a seat where you will be the most productive with your time. Instead of this, you have to ask permission in order to go to the bathroom. Say this: if you have to go to the bathroom, just autograph the sign-out sheet so I know where you are. Instead of this, everyone is expected to participate, so be ready to be called on at any time. Say this: the expectation is that everyone participates, so make sure you jump in when you have something good to say. Instead of this, no swearing or bad language. Say this: have a little class when you speak. Instead of this, I will wait for your attention. Say this: ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Instead of this, no cell phones. Say this: you have your phones with you all day, and you only get to see me for an hour. Plus, they will only distract you from all the awesome stuff we are going to be doing. Instead of this, no cheating. Say this: trust me, your integrity isn't worth a point or two on a quiz. Step 3. Include students in the implementation of rules and procedures. Letting students have a voice in the rules and procedures of your class will greatly improve the odds of these concepts lasting throughout the course of the year. By providing them with a say in the rules, it will make it easier to refer back to what we, the class, came up with as a guideline for class, rather than what I, the teacher, assigned if and or when things start to fall apart. Step 4. Don't punish the entire class. As a general rule, the vast majority of your students listen and behave themselves during class, although there are always exceptions. Because of this, class punishments really can have a negative impact on the atmosphere. If a student misbehaves, deal with that student individually. And if you aren't sure who caused the infraction, lay low until you have a chance to investigate and make an informed decision. If you panic and punish the entire class, you're isolating yourself from a large percentage of innocent students. Plus, if you start interrogating students and looking for information, you are often unintentionally pitting students against one another. This is a surefire way to break up any trust you've built within your class. And as a result, rather than eliminating issues, you may be creating them. Step 5. Stop sharing the class average. While sharing the class average on tests and assignments might seem harmless, in reality it sets students up to compare themselves to one another. Once grades get involved, students tend to get competitive, and by promoting what average looks like, they will naturally compare themselves against that score. An easy solution is to ask students to reflect on their own grades to see if they represent their best efforts. This allows your class to think about what they did in comparison to themselves versus comparing their score to what everyone else earned. I always tell my students that the only score they should be concerned with is their own. Besides, your students shouldn't strive for mediocrity, and that's exactly the measurement you are asking them to compare themselves against when you post the class average. Step 6. Change as needed. Like most everything else about teaching, Be ready to adapt these concepts. In a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?